We will commence with a short meditation. Please close your eyes. I'll chant a verse in Sanskrit, translate it, and I would like you to dwell on its meaning. Om Chitta Mulo Vikilpoyam Chitta Bhavena Kaschana Ataschittam Samadehi Pratyagrupe Paramatmani. This apparent universe has its root in the mind, and it never persists after the mind is annihilated. Therefore, dissolve the mind by concentrating it on the Supreme Self, which is thy inmost essence. Think of your inmost essence, that consciousness which is beyond the mind. Om. Peace, peace, peace. This verse says it all. The apparent universe has its root in the mind. Dissolved the mind by concentrating it on the innermost essence, which is the reality. There is something called in Vedanta the destruction of the mind. It's called Mano Nasha. And it happens when there's a perfect concentration on the Supreme Self. That is the Supreme Self. Today's topic is Swami Vijnanananda, established in supreme knowledge. That self is of the nature of knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita, after answering Arjuna's question about a knower of Brahman, Sri Krishna concludes the chapter by saying, this is the state of being established in Brahman. One does not become deluded after attaining this. One attains identification with Brahman by being established in this state, even in the closing years of one's life. There are these two words which are used, so profound. One is called a Brahma Sthiti, established in Brahman, and Brahma Nirvana, Your individual existence is extinguished in this universal existence. People say nirvana, nirvana. It's an old Sanskrit word where your individual existence goes away. What about me? Well, you, Vedanta says, never really existed. But you existed as the universal reality. And that is the goal of every human life, to be established in that Brahman. So Vedanta will bring up another question. Aren't we established in Brahman? The extreme with, yes, you are. We are already established in Brahman. But we don't know it. And that's where the Brahma Nirvanam comes, where you get extinguished in this Brahman. Is it a dry state? No. This is the dry state. Is it full of joy? Yes, it is. Consciousness. It's bliss. It's infinite existence. That is our real nature. What makes us go around like this? So Vedanta posits something called ajnana, non-knowledge. And this non-knowledge has to be stripped away from you through practice of meditation. That's good. So one of the greatest paradoxes is in Vedanta, they try to handle it. How can an individual attain that supreme knowledge? And it's not a post-mortem state. We don't believe in that post-mortem business. I mean, after that, you'll go, no, no, do it now. Do it while you are alive. Can this be accomplished? It has been done over millennia. So it describes that state. I'll read it. The person who knows realizes in his heart, through samadhi, the infinite Brahman, which is something of the nature of eternal knowledge and absolute bliss, which has no comparisons, which transcends all limitations, is ever free and without any activity or modification, and which is like the limitless sky, indivisible and absolute. This verse, unlike the opening verse, is taken from Shankaracharya's crest jewel of discernment, discrimination, Vivek Chudamani. So here is very clear, is saying this person who knows realizes in his heart, Ridhi Kalayati Vidwan, Brahma Purnam Samadhu. I used to get thrilled when we used to read this, and when we were young. Yeah. So it's very clear, Ridhi in the heart, Kalayati, we have grasped it. Vidwan, that one who knows. Brahma Purnam Samadhu, the absolute Brahman. So dualistic philosophers have brought all their logical arguments against this paradox. Whether it exists or no, whether it is possible or no, and the final touchstone is experience. People have experienced it. And people have transmitted this knowledge for thousands of years. India survived because of this, and it will survive because of this. It's called the Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of Brahman. That is the greatest thing that Vedanta has given us, and it's now offering it to everybody. This will save us as a race. Otherwise, we are going to spiral down. Swami Vijnanananda, he had attained this state. The Brahma Sthiti, the established in Brahman, the extinguishment of one's own individuality in Brahman. One of the questions Arjuna puts to Krishna is, how does a person who knows the truth, sthita prajna, one who is established in that knowledge, how does he move? How does he walk about? How does he sit? How does he behave? And then Sri Krishna gives a long list of things. So we don't need to get into the Bhagavad Gita enumerations. We can do it through his life. And this is an advantage of taking up a living example. It's tangible, more than an abstract philosophical kind of discussion. How does the person move about, walk about, talk? Well, we'll see. The name Vijnana itself speaks of this state. So, Jnana is knowledge, Vijnana is special knowledge. It is also translated as realization. Realization, realization of reality. So we have a verse, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma, one who is perfectly satisfied with knowledge and realization. This is how a person who has attained the state lives, completely, fully blissful and satisfied in knowledge. So, how does the state come up? That is the question. Yeah, one has to struggle for it. Struggle intelligently, so you struggle less. But everything in nature, when we look out at this world, anything, what does it tell us? It's a very ancient world, very ancient, millions, billions of years old. Everything is a billion years old, billions of years old, 13.8 billion years old. Oh, yes. And everything has evolved all this time. Nothing is simple. We take things for granted, everything, okay. Nothing, everything has evolved. Even the knowledge within oneself is evolving. Every day, every moment, we are getting better and better. Growing in knowledge, growing in love, growing in unselfishness. And this happens for us who believe in Vedanta. It's been happening for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. We don't fall from the sky and go back to the skies. Nothing like that happened. And never has it happened, and never will it happen. Somebody falls from the skies, someone falls into a dung pit, someone falls into a penthouse. Oh, sorry. No, it doesn't happen like that. We have been working towards it for long. So there's a verse In the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, at the end of many, many, many births, Jnanavan Mam Prapade, the person of knowledge attains me. Sri Krishna is in God. This is what? Vasudevam Sarvamiti. All this is the divine. So Mahatma, that is the great one, the great soul. And that person is Durlava, is very rare. Yeah, it, it is under no, we shouldn't be under no illusions. It's very rare. So we speak about Swami Vijnanananda. He was one of the last disciples to be initiated into monasticism. So to begin his life story, but you must remember, we live in two worlds. One is a world of the spirit, the other is this material world. Right now, for us, that is a kind of closed door. We don't even peek in what's there. We are living in this realm. Those who go down there can, as it were, stand on the threshold and live in both worlds. But this world appears kind of a shadowy, pale, hazy, unreal. It's like when you think about your own past life, in this life, of course, your entire existence seems so kind of like a mirage, just just images, pictures, memories. It seems like a kind of a movie that you saw and you, what happened exactly. This is a perception that Swami Vijnanananda used to have when he used to move about, think, talk, walk. So we'll talk about his move about, think, talk, walk. Okay, interesting. So about his antecedents. Once, he came to Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ramakrishna looked at him. He was huge. I mean, for an Indian, of course. And Sri Ramakrishna says, "Can you wrestle?" Yeah. And Sri Ramakrishna comes and tries to grapple with him. And, he was lean and thin and weak also. And so this boy, his name was, pre-monastic name was Harinath Chattopadhyay, Hari Prasanna Chattopadhyay. So he kept on pushing Sri Ramakrishna towards the wall, against the wall. And as he kept on pushing, Sri Ramakrishna he was pressed against the wall. And suddenly he felt a kind of electric shock coming through his hands, and he became powerless. And waves and waves of bliss engulfed him. Sri Ramakrishna, he said, "Ha, oh, you won, okay, come, sit." And he just couldn't say anything. Sri Ramakrishna later said, "No, he is not an ordinary person. He, in his previous incarnation, even wrestled with Krishna." So we get an idea of his antecedents. So here we have Vijnanananda again wrestling with Sri Krishna in this incarnation as Ramakrishna. Amazing. Because all life is a continuity. Every life is a continuity. So he was the eldest of 6 children. His father was Taraknath and his mother was Nakuleshwari. The mother was extremely pious. So his father used to, uh, because of his work, had to uh, be posted to various places in India, and he used to take the family along. The first time Hari Prasanna saw Sri Ramakrishna was when he was 7 years old. He was a little boy. Sri Ramakrishna had come to one of the neighbor's place and he saw him. The second time he saw him was saying when Sri Ramakrishna was in a kind of a bhava samadhi, a kind of ecstasy. And there he saw, saying, my God. He said his face looked so beautiful, it was beaming with joy. It's like a kind of a cracked watermelon. And saying another thing he saw Sri Ramakrishna's spine so swollen up. We know we have a spinal column. It's kind of like a rope. And he saw the energy, that Kundalini energy, running up and down his spine. And that had enlarged his spinal column. I mean, that was what he saw there. So he started his schooling in Varanasi, and then he came to Calcutta. He studied in the Hare School, and then he in the St. Xavier School, and then he was transferred. His family went down to Patna, Bihar, where he graduated, and then he went to Pune, another place where he studied civil engineering. So yeah, we have interesting, you can say, education. And his civil engineering helped the order immensely, because later on he was involved in a lot of construction work. So we have this one incident that, so his mother thought that he had lied about something. He was young, he was 14, and he had already been initiated into Vedic rituals. When a child is around 11 or 12, now it's done whenever. But in the old days, it was 7 or 8. Now it's 10 or 11. Traditional families, so they wear a sacred thread and all that, and then they do those rituals. So his mother said, and he was so furious, saying, if I have lied, he takes the sacred thread and tears it. I am not fit to be called a Brahmin. And they will stick to truth no matter what. People criticize them, Yeah, there are they're open to criticism also, but they never swerve from truth. Never. So he told his, and his mother was shocked. That is a bad omen. The next day, they heard that his father had passed away unexpectedly when he was in Quetta, now which is Afghanistan. And the mother said, see what you did. Because these things were taken quite seriously. You got angry and it was like a kind of a bad omen. Okay. So he came to Sri Ramakrishna and he was initiated. We don't know the nature of the initial initiation. But one time, Sri Ramakrishna says, why don't you come often here? So I don't feel like coming. And besides, I don't know, I cannot meditate. Like most of us. I said, what? You can't meditate? Come. He said, stick your tongue out. And he wrote something on his tongue. He said, go and meditate now. Go to the Panchavati, the grove of 5 trees. And the boy, is like kind of completely intoxicated. Everything is hazy and he's, swaying as he walks and he goes towards it, full of bliss. Somehow he manages to reach that place not very far from where Sri Ramakrishna used to live, about 100 meters, yeah, less than that. And he goes and sits down and meditates, and he lost all outer consciousness. And he came out, he saw Sri Ramakrishna caressing him very gently. From now on, you will always have good meditation. Don't worry. Yeah, some people are lucky. Another time, he says, there was the person who had come and with Sri Ramakrishna was talking, and this young man was young. He was still a teenager, and he was massaging Sri Ramakrishna's feet gently. Sri Ramakrishna said, I can see a person's insides as if looking through a glass. I can see everything. So this boy said, oh my God, this is dangerous. You can see everything inside me also. Everything. Then he says, he asks the Guru, sir, is God with form or without form? And Sri Ramakrishna says, God is with form, God is formless, and God is beyond form and formlessness. The boy said, so this God also is God? Yeah. This utensils, this glass, everything? Yeah. And immediately there was an inner transformation in this young boy. And he saw the light of Brahman everywhere. This is how he lived. He became established in that reality. And he saw the light of Brahman, sees the light of Brahman everywhere. It's a tremendous state, kind of. So this was his first experience. We see objects. They are not objects. And at a deeper level, they are something else. So he had this. And then later on, towards the end, Sri Ramakrishna said, listen, I dwell in this picture. Okay, I dwell in this picture, and whenever you pray to me. Saying, yes, I will. And that was his life. The entire life was this, devoted to Sri Ramakrishna. And you will say, well, Sri Ramakrishna has a form. Yeah, he has a form, and he is formless also. So that's one of the epithets of Sri Ramakrishna is Brahma Rupam. He is the form of Brahman. He is the best form of Brahman. So he, like I said, he took up a job as a civil engineer. He worked for the British. He built roads, etc., etc. He was involved in all this thing. Work, yeah, and he took up this job mainly to support his family because father had died. So he supported family. He also sent money to the fledgling monastery, which the monks had now started. That was in 1887. He joined. In 1896 he joined the monastery. Formally joined the monastery in 1897. Swami Vivekananda took him around to see some ancient structures in order for him to conceptualize the future temple that he would be building. And in 1898, so Swami Vivekananda says, you go and take your final monastic vows. Like we did, go to Sri Ramakrishna and take the vows. So that's what he did. He performed all the preliminary rituals, etc., and took it straight from Sri Ramakrishna. And that's a time when Swami Vivekananda had just returned from the West, the first trip. and he wanted Sri Ramakrishna's life to be spread out all over. So he sent him to a place in North India called Allahabad. Now it's Prayaga. And he called him the Bishop of Allahabad, saying, go and preach the message of Sri Ramakrishna. But he was very reticent. He's saying the best way to preach is to preach through your life. And not like us. Stand up here and preach through your life. And that's what he did. And the place where he went was bitterly cold in winter and burning hot in summer. Oh my God, that place. There was no running water or electricity. He had to get water from a distant municipal tap, use kerosene lamps. And he spent his time studying, meditating, doing japa, giving a few classes. There was a kind of a small group at the Brahma club. That's the place where he lived. And he was, so oblivious of things. His his clothes were kind of, drew derision. People should look at him and laugh. He had cap which covered his ears, and he had glasses, and then he was big, and he used to put layers and layers of clothes on him with long, huge pockets and multiple socks and worn out shoes, careless, and he's just walking around. That's how he used to live, and you can say preach. But he was a great scholar. He began translating Sri Ramakrishna's books into Hindi and also started translating the scriptures into English. So he was fluent in all languages. So this is how he spent 38 years of his life there. I remember I used to often go to that place when I was nearby. That the room where he stayed used to make a hair stand on end. Amazing. So that was how, but then he also used to exercise, and he was, like I said, big and strong. And even as a young boy, he was extremely intelligent, extremely perceptive, extremely compassionate, intelligent. He tried to hide himself from everything. Now, this is that's what they generally do. So as I said, they live in two worlds: the world of the spirit and this world. They behave like us, but they have various experiences. I'll enumerate a few of them. Uh, you in Allahabad, there's a confluence of the three rivers. It's considered very sacred. It's called Triveni. We have read about a goddess with three braids. And one day, Swami Vijnanananda, he used to go now and then bathe there, and returning, he's seen the goddess walking in front of him with those three braids. And he followed her for a long time. She was walking towards the place where he used to live, and then she disappeared. And Swami Brahmananda authenticated it. Yes, that is a genuine vision. And he says he's a hidden knower of Brahman. So another knower of Brahman can authenticate. So that is what they say. So Brahmananda himself was he was a knower of Brahman. He, as I say, quietly lived his life, but then people started being attracted towards. He used to try to push them away, dissuade them, scold them, try to show himself as an angry monk. But some people who persisted there. So he used to be consulted on constructions all over the place. So one time he had gone to Varanasi, Benares, as they say, and he was in that horse carriage, and somehow the wheel broke, and the whole carriage kind of fell on him, and his leg was injured, and he was feeling feverish. He was taken to the center, And then he's praying to Shiva. I've come here to do Shri Krishna's work, and this is what happened to me. And then in the middle of the night, he says, I seen the Lord Shiva appearing. And he approached me. He was so beautiful. And he has that compassionate smile. He comes and he embraces me. Saying his body was so ice cold and so soft like butter. And I lost consciousness. And he said, next morning I woke up, I was free from all pains and fever. So he also met one of those great saints, Trilinga Swami, whom Sri Krishna himself met, and all some of the direct disciples. He was a very great soul there, living in Benares. He used to, he's saying, I used to be there on that hot banks of the river, naked. He was completely sunburned. When Vigyan Maharaj goes, he's saying, people say, I saw him golden in color. So some of these, then he goes to Sarnath once time. Sarnath is a place where Buddha gave his first sermon. Because when he came to Benares, for some reasons, people said, okay, no, you don't listen to the heretical doctrines, because he was preaching something which was not Vedic. So he had gone to Benares and there, Sarnath, and there he said, I had a wonderful vision. I saw a formless ocean of light, and the whole universe was gradually merging into it. Like a speck, I was watching that blissful glow with wonder, standing on the shore of that immense ocean of light. I was beside myself. Then, in the twinkling of an eye, the universe completely disappeared. And from that ocean of pure consciousness, the compassionate, loving form of Buddha appeared. What a joy! And even now, while explaining it, I'm filled with that joy. This is one of the experiences of a knower of Brahman. You'll see the entire ocean of light. Swami Vivekananda says, I am like a piece of glass in an ocean of light. That light just runs, passes, is transparent. So this is some of these experiences that he had when he went to Jagannath Puri. There also he said, the Lord embraced me. On entering the temple, I embraced Lord Jagannath. Jagannath means the Lord of the universe. That became like that Jagannath, the English word, but that is completely different from what the original meaning was. So he's saying he appeared to me like so soft like butter. Now you know what the personal form of God feels like. Soft. Yeah. When he went to what is called Pegu in now it's Yagun, near Yagun, that's Burma, old Burma. So there he said, today Buddha has graciously vouchsafed me this vision. I clearly saw that the reclining image of Buddha was living, as it were. You have a huge reclining Buddha there. He saw it as living. So these people, they, as I say, they live in that consciousness. There was a time when a lawyer kind of comes and talks to him, and then he says, you see, Swami, we don't understand God. We understand money, property, and the material world, obviously. Swami Vijnanananda listened to him with closed eyes. Then, placing his hand on his own chest, he said, "Whatever you say is true from your standpoint. But I have experienced the one pervading consciousness behind this manifested world. I have seen it with my own eyes and I've lived in it. This is that consciousness which he lived in. How does it feel? It's very difficult for one to live and operate in this world, but it is done. That person lives in constant bliss. For that person, there is no thing as waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. All these things are just wiped out. That person just moves about, walking. And that is a state of a Jivan Mukti, free while still living. This was Swami Vijnanananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. Yes, and in fact, he was one of the last presidents, the direct disciple as a president of the order. And one of his tasks was to rebuild Belur Mutt when it was purchased, and the temple also. So he's saying that will be my last task. Swamiji has entrusted me with this work. And when it was inaugurated, Belur Mutt, Swamiji had said, he had promised me, I won't live to see it, but I will come to witness the inauguration. So Vigyan Maharaj had come from Allahabad, from that North India, had come, inaugurated the whole, and then he is in a high state of that supreme knowledge. He returns to his quarters, and then one of his attendants says, Swami, did Swami Vivekananda appear? Did he keep his promise? Oh, yeah. I saw all Swami Vivekananda, Swami Brahmananda, and Preman, all the directors, they were all present there when I was inaugurating this. And then he says, I told Swamiji, now my work is done here. So he tells everybody now, whatever task was entrusted to me has been completed. Find another man. And towards the end, his attendant says, do you see Shri Ramakrishna? Oh, yes, he's always with me. The living presence is with me always. And taking his name, he gets into samadhi and gives up his body. So they can cast off their body like that through an act of will. So as I said, the wise person realizes in his heart through samadhi that infinite Brahman, which is something of the nature of eternal knowledge and absolute bliss, which has no exemplars, which transcends all limitations, is ever free and without duality, and which is like the limitless sky, indivisible and absolute. To even, we just can't even conceptualize this. But the closest we can get, yeah, like a shoreless ocean of light. Think of it like that. And you are like a speck, you know, Swami Vijnanananda's experience. You're like a speck in that ocean of light floating about. If we can hold on to this, it will revolutionize our own consciousness. Om, peace, 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 in the name of the Lord Hari. Time for questions. Before we can get into it, we have been streaming it on live on YouTube also. So those who have been watching it on YouTube, that's a Swami Satyamayananda online channel. We also, of course, on Zoom. Yeah. And you can type in your questions while I take questions from here, from our live audience. Yeah.
Has he said, is he going to come back? No?
That is a state of freedom.
Oh.
When you realize everything is, there's no coming back. People who have not had the supreme knowledge will have to come back. Well, so we've got potential also. We can attain to that state by the grace of God. It's a tremendous. So even if you have the experience of the personal God, that itself is liberation. It liberates you. Somehow you've got to get in touch with that reality. You touch it. Sri Krishna gives the example of these children, they like touch the granny, and they're blindfolded and they go around and then they're trying to touch the granny, and the granny also does not like to be touched. She wants to let the game go on, and so when you touch the granny, you're out of the game. Okay, so they touch the granny, and so these guys have touched the granny and they've left. Hi, Swami Satyamayananda. Thank you. Why do they stay hidden? Well, there are some, their bodies are completely in the hands of God. One thing. Take, for instance, Swami Vijnanananda. And he spoke also, he met Swami Trilinga Swami. The Trilinga Swami was huge. They say he lived for more than 500 years. He was like that. Sri Krishna himself cooked porridge and fed him. So he never preached. And people saw him and said, oh, madman. But he was considered as a living Shiva, Sachala Shiva. So people saw Shiva in him. So he never did any preaching. In fact, he had a kind of small cane, he used to kind of drive away people out. But that person's light itself that comes out, that itself is preaching. That itself sustains the spiritual world of all of us. So they stay hidden from ignorant people, but they don't stay hidden from people who know. Like Raja Maharaj authenticates. Okay. So we don't know. Like there are some great souls like Vivekananda, or you can say all the other direct disciples. They went around preaching. It's not necessary that people will come in droves and you see, when you come to that stage, what do you do? The Lord himself preaches. Why bother about it? Okay, so he's hidden for people who can't see him as it is. There are hundreds of stories in that knower of Brahman, wherever he is. And I've heard from people who have met such people. That person is hidden. There was one Swami who was completely hidden. Nobody knew anything about him. Nobody bothered about him. Nothing. He was just an ordinary Swami. He's saying, another Swami is saying, there's a huge glow of spiritual light extending for miles around that place where the person lives. So we don't see any glow of light. We see anything, only electric lights. But those who can see, they see. So that those people who come in the ambient of this influence, they are caught up in that spirituality. Okay. How did Swami Vijnanananda describe Thakur in his writings? Read it. He was that supreme Brahman that had taken a form. That is also mentioned by Swamiji in his Vesper hymns. That shoreless ocean of light has condensed into this form. Okay. Yeah.
So it sounds like, like 1800 or earlier, there were a lot of avatars, came as human form.
There's only one avatar at one time.
Okay,
Yeah.
but recent past history, it seems like,
Plenty.
yeah,
Yeah, you throw a stone, you might hit 10 avatars, There's plenty of guys claiming to be avatar.
yeah. So they're claiming
Yeah,
to. This is
they're
not
claiming.
like
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
So it
So
is.
tomorrow, even you can claim, yeah, I'm an avatar. Who's
Yeah.
going to challenge you? Someone who knows. Oh, you go to another place, I'm an avatar. Oh, really? Oh, see, it's the doctrine. It's a huge doctrine. One of these days, I'll speak about it. So, what avatars? They don't even know anything.
Mhm.
They are so conscious of their own bodies and their individualities, and they're talking about the avatar. That's kind of it. So these are special, very special. The descent of the divine. So,
So
so
is it
like there are so many. Even Jesus Christ
right?
now, even now, they're saying, "Oh, so now what do you do about them?" And these guys obviously they need help. Huh.
But I'm talking about like real
No, there's no real.
reincarnation.
From the standpoint from the standpoint of Advaita Vedanta, you see, they don't accept the doctrine of incarnations because they say that all of us are incarnations. All of us are avatars. Why? Because we have descended from our divine status into this world. So that is how you can look at. But the special souls who come,
Mhm.
they carry millions of souls along with them. This guy, whoever, they cannot carry themselves. They wipe away the doom of millions of souls. That's why Sri Ramakrishna was Kapala Mochan. He was a wiper out of in the destiny. It's a very, you see what happened? Claim. Don't go for claims. In spiritual life, I think I've mentioned it. The moment you claims, stay away. The moment you see money being exchanged, stay away. Never. These are kind of hoax. And yeah, I claim this, I claim that, and another thing is promises. People will promise you, oh, you can stay away from these three things. People making promises, people making claims, and people exchanging their spirituality for money. Okay, if they don't, then go and say, okay,
Mhm.
please give me the knowledge of Brahman. Okay, so on the YouTube you have, okay, you just pronounce. So so we can close here. I could have gone on and on and on, but the fascinating, very fascinating. Just remember that there is a possibility of all of us attaining that stage if we work hard enough and you have the grace of God. It's possible. is just beyond all conceptions. Because we think of ourselves as just embodied. And even if we don't think of ourselves as embodied, we think of a kind of a subtle body. Yeah, we have this kind of. Think of yourself as disembodied. I mean, not with a subtle body, just disembodied, without no body at all. Because every body arises in time, will dissolve in time. Has to. Whether it's a spiritual body or no, it will rise in time and dissolve in time. So the truth is always bodiless. As the Upanishad, Ashariram Sharireshu, that is the bodiless amongst living in all bodies. Anavasteshu avast. Beautiful. Yeah, I could anyway. So thank you all for joining in on Zoom as well as on YouTube. As I mentioned, uh, we are live streaming on YouTube also. For now, not on the Vedanta Society of Western Washington channel. We will do it eventually, but right now we are streaming it on the Swami Satyamananda online. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. May all that we have done today be as an offering to Shri Ram Krishna. Peace, peace, peace. So thank you very much again